Hi, for Pro Football Weekly, I'm Hub Arkush along with Associate Editor Dan Parr. We continue our series of the NFL 32 teams NFL training camp opening reports, and we look at the Carolina Panthers in the NFC South. Dan, big surprise last year. They went from 2-14 to 6-10. Cam Newton was a revelation. As they go to training camp, what changes during the offseason will allow them to take even another step forward?
Well, they're counting on defense to be the big difference between last year and this one. Luke Kuechly plugging in at either middle linebacker or the weak side. They expect him to be a starter from day one and to be a very productive starter and to help shore up a defense that sorely missed a player like him last year. And then on the other side of the ball, you go out and add some power in fullback Mike Tolbert and guard Amini Silatolu. This is an offense that was, as you mentioned, prolific last year with Cam Newton under center. Now you have a little bit more punch up front. I think there's going to be even more opportunities for this team to run the ball.
You know, offensive coordinator Bob Chudzinski did a great job last year, but we know Ron Rivera's roots. Mike Ditka, Bear football, run the ball, play defense. As you look at this offense, and obviously some focus on Cam Newton, what will they do in training camp to make sure they get better?
I think they're going to ask Cam Newton to run less and throw a little bit more. So you come in, you add Tolbert and Silatolu to shore up that running game. But the other big question mark for this offense, where they need improvement, who's going to catch the ball other than Steve Smith? You have Greg Olsen, you have Brandon LaFell, you have David Geddes coming off a torn ACL. Which one of these guys is going to step up and take some of the heat off Smith? We know the defenses are going to be paying attention to him. If they can slow him down, who's the next guy to step up? You
know, Dan, they'd have been better at 6-10 last year if they could have stopped anybody on defense. Yeah. Where will they start to rebuild that in training camp?
Well, they're counting on John Beeson to come back healthy. They're counting on Thomas Davis, two guys that they lost basically for all of last season. Ron Edwards, defensive tackle, a free agent they signed before last season, who didn't play it down after injuring him and getting injured in training camp. Expecting him to come in and shore up the interior. So I think you look at the front seven, that's where they want the most improvement, but they also have made changes in the secondary, drafting cornerbacks to come in and compete against Captain Munnerlyn, and also trying to push Sheridan Martin at free safety. So there's going to be competition for some starting spots there.
A couple veterans on that defense who played last year but just didn't play well enough, figured to get better this year?
Right. You look at Sion Fu and Terrell McClain, defensive tackles, guys who probably were injected into the lineup before they were really ready for it. But they got a ton of experience. They have to expect them to be better. These are guys that, they didn't go out and sign in defensive tackles in free agency. They didn't draft anybody. A lot of people were surprised by that. They thought it should be their highest priority. They showed a lot of confidence in Fu and McClain. Any
players on this roster the fans and the Panthers have waited for long enough? They're really on the bubble now.
There's one that comes to mind, and that's ARMANTI Edwards, a guy who they drafted a couple of years ago to be a dynamic returner and slot guy. Just hasn't developed. You hear things that they've been encouraged by what they've seen this offseason. Is it enough for him to make the roster? He's got to be really strong now with Joe Adams, a rookie they just drafted, pretty much drafted to come in and take his spot. The other guy to keep an eye on, another younger player that really hasn't ever developed the way they hoped he would, is Eric Norwood, a defensive end.
Cam Newton, the sequel, what will it be this year? That's our training camp opening report for the Carolina Panthers. For all 32 teams' NFL training camp opening reports, stay right where you're at ProFootballWeekly.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.